I killed my first man trying to save him. That's not how they teach it in medic school. They teach you about tourniquets, about sucking chest wounds, about morphine dosages. They teach you the Geneva Convention, about how medics don't carry weapons, about how you're protected as a non-combatant. They don't teach you that the enemy doesn't care. They don't teach you that sometimes saving one man means letting another die. They don't teach you that your hands will be so covered in blood you'll forget what color your skin used to be. My name is Specialist 4th Class David Chen, Army Medic, 1st Cavalry Division, 23 years old, from San Francisco. My parents came from China, worked their whole lives so I could go to college. I was pre-med at Berkeley when I got drafted in 1966. Figured being a medic was better than being a rifleman. Figured I'd save lives instead of taking them. Figured I understood what I was getting into. I understood nothing. They sent me to Vietnam in March 1967. Arrived in country thinking I'd be treating malaria and heat exhaustion, patching up minor wounds, real combat medicine but controlled, professional. My first week, I watched a kid bleed out from a stomach wound while I tried everything I knew and nothing worked. He died calling for his mother, and I couldn't do a damn thing except hold his hand and lie to him about how he was going to be okay. That was my introduction to Vietnam. By May of 1967, I'd been in country 2 months and I'd already seen more trauma than most civilian doctors see in a lifetime. Gunshot wounds, shrapnel wounds, sucking chest wounds, traumatic amputations. Boys, and they were boys, most of them 19, 20 years old, torn apart by bullets and explosives. And I was supposed to fix them. Supposed to keep them alive long enough to get them to a real hospital. Supposed to work miracles with a medical bag and a prayer. Sometimes it worked. Sometimes I'd stabilize a guy, get him on a medevac, and he'd live. Those were the good days. Most days weren't good days. Hill 881 South. That's where everything changed for me. Where I learned that being a medic doesn't mean you don't kill, doesn't mean you're safe, doesn't mean anything except you get to watch men die up close while you fail to save them. May 2nd, 1967. We were ordered to take the hill, and I learned what it means to carry the weight of the dead. Hill 881 South was near Khe Sanh, part of a complex of hills the North Vietnamese held. Strategic positions, good fields of fire, heavily fortified. Command wanted them, sent us to take them. We started up the hill at 0800. 2 companies, maybe 300 men. The North Vietnamese were dug in at the top, bunkers and trenches waiting for us. We made it maybe halfway before they opened up. Machine gun fire from multiple positions, mortars, RPGs. They'd let us walk right into the kill zone, then hit us with everything. Men went down all around me. I could hear them screaming, "Medic! Medic!" The cry I'd heard in my nightmares, the cry I'd hear for the rest of my life. I ran toward the nearest wounded man, Private Jenkins from Alabama. Took a round through the shoulder, arterial bleed, pumping blood. I dropped beside him, ripped open my bag, applied pressure. You're okay, I told him. Lies. Always lies. He wasn't okay, but you tell them what they need to hear. Bullets snapping overhead, dirt kicking up around us. I worked on Jenkins while the firefight raged. Got the bleeding controlled, got him bandaged, shot him up with morphine. Medic. Another cry, 30 yards upslope. I looked, could see a man down, writhing, screaming. Stay here, I told Jenkins. Keep pressure on that wound. I ran, up the hill, through the fire. You don't think during these moments. Don't calculate risk, just react. Someone's hurt, you go. The wounded man was Corporal Martinez, both legs shredded by shrapnel. He was conscious, in agony, begging me to help him. I started working. Tourniquets on both legs. Had to stop the bleeding before he bled out. My hands were shaking. Bullets everywhere. Martinez screaming. Everything chaos. Got the tourniquets on. tagged him with morphine. He quieted down, went into shock. That was good. Shock meant his body was shutting down non-essential systems, trying to preserve life. I could work with shock. Medic! Another call, then another. They were coming from everywhere. Too many wounded, too many voices, too many men dying. I looked uphill, could see at least 5 men down between my position and the enemy bunkers, could see medics working on others, could hear the constant screaming of medic, medic, medic. We were getting chewed up. The assault was stalling. Men were taking cover behind rocks, behind bodies, behind anything. The North Vietnamese were raining hell down on us. A lieutenant came sliding down to my position. We need to pull back, get the wounded down the hill. Pull back. That meant carrying wounded men down a steep, open hillside while the enemy shot at us. That meant choosing who to carry first, who to leave behind. That meant some men would die waiting. I looked at Martinez, looked downhill at Jenkins, looked uphill at the others still screaming for help. "I need help," I shouted to the lieutenant. "I can't carry them all." "Do what you can," he said. Then he was gone, running down the hill, organizing the withdrawal. Do what you can. That's all anyone ever said, as if I could do anything more than watch men die. I decided to take Martinez first. He was worse off, needed a hospital fast, or he'd lose both legs, maybe his life. I got him over my shoulder, fireman's carry. He was dead weight, unconscious from the morphine and shock, had to weigh 180, 190, plus his gear, plus my medical bag. Started down the hill. Every step was agony. The slope was steep, covered in loose dirt and rocks. I kept slipping, falling to my knees, getting back up. Martinez's blood was soaking through my uniform. My legs were screaming, my lungs were burning, and the NVA were shooting at us, bullets kicking up dirt, snapping past my head. I could hear them, feel them, close enough to kill, but somehow missing. I made it maybe 50 yards before I fell hard. Martinez rolled off my shoulder, tumbled a few feet downslope. I scrambled after him, checked his vitals. Still breathing, still alive. I got him back up, kept moving, one foot in front of the other. Don't think about the shooting. Don't think about the men still up there screaming. Just focus on the next step. Just get Martinez down. A mortar round hit 20 yards to my left. The blast lifted me up, threw me sideways. I hit the ground hard, Martinez landing on top of me, couldn't breathe, couldn't see through the dust and smoke. When it cleared, I checked Martinez again. Still alive. Miracle. I was halfway down now, could see the casualty collection point at the bottom. Medics there, more supplies, hope of medevac. Just had to make it. Started moving again. Slower now, my legs were giving out, shoulders on fire, back screaming, but I couldn't stop. Stopping meant Martinez died. Made it to the bottom. Other medics took Martinez from me, rushed him to the LZ, where helicopters were landing to evacuate casualties. I collapsed, sucked in air, tried to stand. "Chen," the senior medic, Sergeant Williams. "We need you back up there. Still got wounded on the hill." Back up. He wanted me to go back up. I looked at the hill. Could see men scattered on the slope. Some moving, some not. Could still hear the screaming. Could still hear the shooting. I grabbed my bag, started back up the hill. Found Jenkins where I'd left him. Still alive, still conscious. "You came back," he said. Sounded surprised. "Yeah," I said. "Let's get you down." Got him over my shoulder, started down. Again. Same hellish descent. Same bullets. Same mortars. Same terror. Made it down. Handed Jenkins off. Turned around. "Chen, no." Williams grabbed my arm. "You've done enough. You're bleeding." I looked down. Hadn't noticed. Shrapnel in my left thigh. Not bad. Not important. "I'm going back," I said. I went back up 4 more times. 4 more wounded men carried down that hill under fire. By the last trip, I couldn't feel my legs, couldn't feel anything except the weight on my shoulders and the need to keep moving. The last man I brought down was already dead. Didn't know it until I got to the bottom and they checked him. He'd died somewhere on the trip down, while I was carrying him, while I was trying to save him. I'd carried a corpse down a hill under fire. I sat down in the mud and I couldn't get back up. My body had given out. Everything hurt. Everything was numb. I couldn't tell the difference anymore. Williams came over. "You did good, Chen. You saved lives today." I looked at my hands, covered in blood. Martinez's blood, Jenkins's blood, blood from men whose names I didn't even know. I hadn't saved anyone. I'd just delayed their deaths, prolonged their suffering, dragged broken bodies down a hill so they could die in a hospital instead of on a battlefield. They gave me 3 days to recover. 3 days, then back to my unit, back to the field, back to being the guy who ran toward the screaming while everyone else ran away. We took Hill 881 south eventually, took almost 2 weeks of fighting, hundreds of casualties on both sides. The hill was a corpse-strewn wasteland by the time we secured it. Then 2 months later, we abandoned it. Command decided it wasn't strategically necessary after all. Gave it back to the jungle. All those men, all that blood, for a hill we didn't even keep. I stopped counting casualties after that, stopped learning names. When someone got hit, they became the wounded. When they died, they became KIA. Not people, just medical situations to manage. That's how you survive as a medic. You can't think of them as people. Can't let yourself care. Because if you care, every death destroys you. And there are too many deaths. June, July, August. The fighting never stopped. Ambushes, firefights, booby traps, mines. Men stepping on punji stakes and screaming for me. Men with their legs blown off by mines and bleeding out while I tried to save them. Men with their insides on the outside begging me to fix them, to make it stop hurting. Sometimes I could help. Sometimes morphine and bandages and quick thinking made the difference. Those men got to live, got to go home, got to forget Vietnam. The rest died. In my arms, on medevac helicopters, in field hospitals. Died calling for their mothers, their girlfriends, for God. Died asking me why them, why this, why. I never had answers. Just morphine and lies. I started carrying a .45 pistol. Against regulations, medics aren't supposed to be armed. But I didn't care about regulations anymore. I'd seen too many medics get shot while treating wounded. Seen too many NVA soldiers target the guys with red crosses on their helmets. The Geneva Convention didn't mean shit in the jungle. I used the pistol in September. We got ambushed on patrol. I was working on a wounded man when an NVA soldier came around a tree, rifle aimed at us. I drew my .45 and shot him 3 times. Killed him. Saved the wounded man. Became a killer. That's what I meant at the beginning. I killed my first man trying to save another. The wounded man died anyway. Bled out while I was checking the NVA soldier's body. Died while I was being a soldier instead of a medic. I failed them both. By October, I'd been in country 7 months. I was exhausted. Physically, mentally, spiritually exhausted. I'd seen more death than any human should see. Carried more broken bodies. Made more impossible choices. And I still had 5 months left on my tour. 5 more months of screaming. 5 more months of blood. 5 more months of failing to save lives while pretending I was making a difference. November 1967. We were operating near Dak To. Heavy fighting, NVA everywhere. We were taking casualties daily. I was working on a kid who'd stepped on a mine. Both legs gone, bleeding from a dozen shrapnel wounds. I was trying to stabilize him, trying to keep him alive long enough for medevac. He looked up at me. Couldn't have been more than 18. Am I going to die? Usually I'd lie, tell him he'd be fine, but I was so tired of lying. Yeah, I said. Probably. He started crying, not screaming, just quiet tears. I don't want to die. Please, please don't let me die. I'm trying, I said, but we both knew it was pointless. His injuries were too severe, too much damage, too much blood loss. He died 3 minutes later, holding my hand, crying, and something broke inside me. I stood up, walked away from the body, kept walking, away from my unit, away from the battle, away from everything, just walking through the jungle, not caring where I was going. Someone tackled me. Sergeant Williams. Chan, what are you doing? I can't, I said. I can't do it anymore. I can't watch them die anymore. He dragged me back, sat me down. You have to hold it together. These men need you. No, they don't. They need a miracle worker. They need someone who can actually save them. I can't save anyone. I just watch them die. You've saved dozens of men. You're a good medic, Chen. I'm a fraud. Every day I pretend I can fix them. Pretend morphine and bandages are enough. But they're not. Nothing's enough. They all die anyway. Williams didn't know what to say to that. Because it was true. We both knew it was true. They pulled me off the line, sent me to the rear for a week, rest and evaluation. The doctor said combat fatigue, said I needed a break, said I'd be fine. But I wasn't fine. Couldn't sleep. Couldn't eat. Couldn't close my eyes without seeing the faces. All the faces. All the men I'd failed to save. They sent me back to my unit after a week. We need you, they said. You're one of our best medics. Best medic. What a joke. Best at watching men die. Best at lying to them while they bled out. Best at carrying their broken bodies and pretending it mattered. I went back. Because where else could I go? I was a medic. That's all I was. All I knew how to be. But the part of me that cared, that believed I was helping, that thought this meant something, that part died somewhere on Hill 881 South. What came back to the field was just going through the motions, just another soldier waiting for Vietnam to kill him. They're recording this interview in August 1968. I've been back in the States for 3 months. My tour ended in March. 12 months in Vietnam. 12 months as a medic. 12 months of failure. I'm at Walter Reed Army Medical Center, not as a medic, as a patient. Psychological trauma, they call it. Combat stress reaction. What we used to call shell shock. The doctors want me to talk about my experiences, want me to process what I went through, want me to understand that I did my best, that I saved lives, that I should be proud of my service. I can't make them understand that pride isn't possible, not when your job was to fail, not when you watched boys die in your arms while you desperately tried to save them, not when you made life or death decisions about who to treat first, knowing the others would die waiting. The nightmares are constant. Every night I'm back on Hill 881 South, carrying wounded men down the hill. But in the dreams I can't make it to the bottom. I keep climbing down and the hill keeps going. And the man on my shoulders keeps getting heavier and heavier until I collapse. And when I check on him, he's dead. They're all dead. All the men I tried to save, all dead because I wasn't good enough. I wake up screaming. The other patients understand. We're all screaming at night. We all have our own hells we can't escape. The Army wants to know if I want to stay in, re-enlist. They need medics. Good medics. They'd give me stateside duty, let me work in a hospital, keep me away from combat. I said no. I can't do it anymore. Can't be responsible for lives. Can't make those decisions. Can't carry that weight. They're discharging me in September. Honorable discharge, Purple Heart for the shrapnel wound I barely remember getting. Bronze Star for valor for carrying wounded under fire. Medals that feel like mockery. I should go back to college, finish my pre-med, become a doctor like my parents wanted. Use what I learned in Vietnam to save lives in a real hospital with real resources. But I can't imagine going back to medicine. Can't imagine touching another patient, making another life or death decision, failing to save someone again. What do you do when the thing you trained for, the thing you were supposed to be good at, becomes the thing that destroys you? I saved lives in Vietnam. Williams was right about that. I pulled men out of firefights, stabilized them, got them on helicopters. They lived because of me. But I remember the ones I didn't save more than the ones I did. Remember their faces, their names, the way they looked at me, trusting me to fix them, believing I could help. And I couldn't. Despite all my training, all my trying, all my desperate efforts, I couldn't save them. Martinez lost both legs but lived. He's at a VA hospital somewhere learning to walk on prosthetics. Jenkins made it home to Alabama. I got letters from both of them, thanking me for saving their lives. I can't read those letters, can't accept their gratitude, because I also remember the kid who asked me if he was going to die. The one I finally told the truth. The one who died crying and afraid. I saved some, lost others. That's the job. That's being a medic in war. You can't save everyone. But knowing that doesn't make it any easier. 23 years old, my whole life ahead of me, but I'm already carrying more weight than any human should carry. The weight of the dead, the weight of the ones I couldn't save. I killed my first man trying to save him. But that's not what haunts me. What haunts me is all the men I couldn't save. All the ones who died waiting for me. All the ones I carried down a hill under fire, only to watch them die at the bottom. I was a medic. I was supposed to save lives. Instead, I just learned that some weights can never be put down.